Ariana, founder of More Magazine here. As we chat through the stories in this most recent issue, there's a lot of curiosity that often sparks. One of the top 3 questions I always get is, why a printed magazine? Isn't print on its way out? While I can understand how in a digitally centric age with shorter than possible attention spans to make an impression, there's something about holding what you created in your hand. And it's not just about what More Magazine is publishing. It's the stories and the voices that are being printed and made a physical part of history. It's seeing yourself in a magazine, feeling seen, not even realizing the impact you'll have on someone else when they get to see it or have it shared with them for the first time. We take our printing seriously, as well as our impact, and it's not without careful thought that we've partnered with Tactive to make our brand come to life. From the inception of our conversations, sustainable practices and printing have been at the forefront. Tactive is based in our home city, Indianapolis. Though, like us, their impact goes beyond our city and state lines, extending to communities that the eyes can't see. And yet, the hands get to hold pieces of a brand that make moments more intentional and long-lasting, easily aligning with our brand by supporting community initiatives and organizations, like our nonprofit neighbor Indie Pride, and finding ways to serve their stakeholders. Tactive is one of the most impact-conscious businesses we've had the pleasure of working with. We all want a little more of more in our lives, and when we first considered putting our brand on swag to share with students and those wanting to spread the word to seek more, Tactive was a key voice in helping us determine how to make our brand have a tactile and meaningful impact rather than printing something without thought. As a small women-owned business, I'm grateful to have folks in business I can rely on to have conversations that will move more forward in strategic ways, and I'm doubly grateful to work with Tactive as we make opportunities reachable for everyone together. To learn more about how Tactive can bring your brand to life, head to tactive.cc. That's TACTIVE.cc for more information.
Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk More on Monday. I'm your podcast host, Chloe, and today we are continuing our Issue 8 Beauty series, talking to another contributor. Welcome, Angelique. I'm very, very happy to have you here today.
Hello.
And have people hear about your story. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I
I'm
love
very
your
excited.
background, by the way.
Thank you. I picked it out. I thought it might match the vibe.
So I would love to just start and have you tell our listeners who you are, what you do, and how you came to work for More. Everybody kind of has a different story of how they got connected. So I love to hear how you came to be with us today.
Yeah, my name's Angelique, and I am a entrepreneur. I'm a professional model. I think that's my first business I started like 6 years ago. And so I do lots of other things on the side just to keep my time available. And so I'm able to travel for when castings and bookings come up. I'm from Indianapolis, and I went to Ohio State, and I studied health there. So those are kind of my passions. Like I love nature, health, wellness, and creating as a model. And so in my entrepreneurship endeavors, I came back to Indy. I went to Ivy Tech and studied entrepreneurship. And then I found a co-working space called Maven Space. I'm currently here. And that's where I met Ariana. I just ran into her actually, I think in our like community chat. She had posted something and I responded, and then kind of just went from there. So that's how I met her, and that's a little bit about me.
That is amazing. We have talked on the show before. Frequent listeners will remember that Maven Space is absolutely a friend of More. We've met so many wonderful women because of Maven Space. So shout out to them if you're in the Indianapolis area.
Yes.
They have done so much for us. And I love that your piece really hits on all of those facets of you. Like you mentioned so many things about, your passion about health and wellness and how you sought out an education for it, your passion for nature. Like you mentioned it vaguely in the first paragraph and then it came up again later. And I was like, yes, of course. Like it just really paints this beautiful picture of like you as a full person. And I think that is a good perspective for people to have when it comes to people in the modeling industry, because a lot of like popular media doesn't give us that. Like I know when I watched America's Next Top Model as a kid, I thought that they were all pretty ridiculous because it was TV and they casted them to be that way.
Mhm.
So it's great to see somebody so grounded and so passionate also
Yes,
work in the industry.
I, I'm excited. I really try to highlight that because a lot of the models that I know, they have so many other things that they're doing, but it's like from the business standpoint of modeling, you don't show it. You only show, you want to show, you're the product in a way. So you want to highlight that of like, hey, I can be a model. But then all the amazing other things that, they're into as a or who they are as a person doesn't always get shown. So,
Right.
but I'm pretty average, most models like have just as many things going on and their own passions and interests. So
Right.
now it's just me.
Just really glad that you got to tell your story in issue
Me
8. I think
too.
it added a lot to it. So, for those of our listeners who haven't picked up the issue or haven't checked out moremagazine.org to read the piece, will you just tell us a little bit about it, how you went through the process of writing this piece?
Yes, I had a lot of creative freedom with writing the article, so I honestly wrote like a bunch of different drafts, and I had bullet points at first of like what's the main thing that I really want people to know about a model and like my perspective from being in the modeling industry, but also being in so many other random industries that have nothing to do with it, and just kind of my personal life advice. So I really started with a bunch of bullet points, and then which were all very random, and then I figured out a way to tie them together, and it kind of came down to an onion because if you know from Shrek, when Donkey, I always remembered when Donkey said this as a kid, they were like walking through a field, Donkey and Shrek, and he's like, oh, these are like onions, and we have layers. And Donkey's like, you mean like cake? Because I like cake. He's like, no, Donkey, you're like an onion. I don't know. That line has like always stuck with me. And so for some reason, the bullet points just came down. I was like, yeah, onion. That makes sense. And then I kind of just rambled on and deleted things and added things because that's my style. That's how I wrote all of my papers, like in school. That was
Yep.
how I did it.
I was never struggling to hit that word count.
No, deleting things and maybe cut and pasting it to somewhere else because I don't want to delete that sentence. That just doesn't fit here. It was a very chaotic process and had multiple rounds of editing from me, and I had to step back and then come back and read it again, make sure that it makes sense because it was tying together so many different things. But I'm
Well,
happy
I
with how it
think
turned out.
your extended onion metaphor worked very well. It was effective, especially at the beginning that you said, like, this is not the most appealing thing that you can picture, but let's think about why we appreciate it.
Hmm.
And it's true. Onions have layers. And I just love the way that it all came together in the end. So even though it seemed like a chaotic process, it was effective.
Yep, it all tied together.
Right. It all comes together in the end. It has to. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about, and obviously you've touched on this a little bit, but when you were approached about writing a piece, what your inspiration was, why you decided to talk about this now for the issue theme. Did you have a conversation with Ariana about what you were going to write about, or yeah, just tell me about the process there.
I feel like it was honestly a while ago, but I knew that the issue was going to be focused on beauty, and so I mean automatically I just have my own like when I hear the word beauty, it kind of makes me upset. I'm a little bit I'm in the modeling industry, and I feel like sometimes a little bit guilty that I'm part of the beauty standard and like pushing that. And so I feel like I'm a spy on the inside and I'm trying to like take them down from the inside. And that's just really important to me when even in everyday conversations that I have with friends, with other models, with people on the internet that they're like, I have a question, I want to get into modeling, like, and I will tell them the truth about it. And it's not all glitz and glams, and you really have to have a self confidence and like be willing to learn and being willing to make mistakes and
Yeah.
all of that. So that's just like something that I'm always, and on a day-to-day basis, I'm always trying to highlight that it probably isn't what you think it is to be a model, and to um, when we talk about beauty, or like subconsciously what beauty is, it's not necessarily the case. And I always want to encourage people to challenge the beauty standard, because it's very manufactured, and I disagree with it.
Yeah, it's so great that you've been able to connect with other models on set and, make connections with them as well. And I just think you have a very unique perspective to offer and you talked about how you didn't feel like you belonged in the modeling industry. Like people would tell you that and you were like, why? But you're also representing like other women who maybe don't think that they can do that. And we kind of touched on this a little bit with another interview I did with some other contributors that wrote a piece called Celebrate the Gray, that they help older women become models as well, and like have represent that side of it.
Yeah.
Seeing, older women with their gray hair and their wrinkles and their, liver spots, even like just getting their like confidence boost and having another demographic of women feel represented. So I think that these
I love
pieces
it.
kind of, yeah, they go hand in hand a little bit.
I need to go and read that piece because I agree. And you're right, there is some similarity in, the train of thought with
Right.
that, because I want to be a lifelong model. I've been doing it for 6 years, but there's something that's kind of been recently developed in the industry called like the classics board, or some agencies will call it their mature board. And it's for models with gray hair, and, models that are beautiful, and they've have some life under their belt, and you can
Right.
see it, and it's beautiful, and there's lots of mom and grandma roles out there, dad and grandfather as well. So
Right.
I
And
love
these are
that.
people
Continue to
that,
read that.
we don't see represented in popular media as much. And that's hard. Like we just get this idea in our heads that, some of these traits that you earn because you've lived so much life, like aren't attractive or accessible. And yeah, they're
Yeah. And if to anyone listening, I would just, when you hear things like this that are kind of just like a commonly accepted thing, ask yourself why. Why do I think that? And do you actually think that? Or do you think that your grandma is so beautiful? And like,
right.
that's not, it's kind of just like somehow along the way when growing up, planes in our heads, what's
Yeah, we get
beautiful and
programmed.
what's not. Yes. And hate that.
Yeah.
So just challenge yourself within, like, I think if you're one person that is aware that this is all kind of made up, then you can inspire the next person, the next person, the next person. And that's why the modeling industry is changing, because on the internet, more people are able to talk about this, and we're all kind of putting our heads together and being like, why are we doing this? And the modeling industry is literally being forced to change,
Yeah.
um,
That's so
by the
interesting how
average
they're
citizen.
having to be held accountable.
Yep, yep. More real looking people cast as models. I get castings all the time, and a lot of them say, we don't care about beauty. We want someone that looks like a real person. They're starting to look for that in, because they're gonna get canceled if they don't, because nobody wants to see that, because you can't relate to, oh, I couldn't fit those clothes, or that wouldn't look good on me, like she
Yeah.
looks great but I wouldn't. I just
Yeah.
we don't need that. I challenge it as much as you can.
Right. We also talked about that topic in another interview where she had talked about representing like makeup brands that are putting out a reasonable range of shades, and how when we, put our dollars towards the products that are doing that and that are representing real people, like we are making a positive statement in that as well. So just, people have more impact and influence on this world than they think they do. And the more we challenge these ideas and push people to be better, like, we're taking ourselves all up together with them.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. I wish I could write that down and quote it and like stick it to post a note on my mirror for that.
I love it. So now that we've gone kind of through your writing process and how this piece came together, I'd love to talk about some of the visuals of it. And we'll get deeper into this and some other things about the article in our Dig Deeper series over on Patreon. So if you're listening to this, make sure to head over there after this episode, listen to that as well. But the photos that were chosen for this piece are really stunning. Like, they're so beautiful, but they're also very simple and approachable. And I think that that's so cool. And I would love for you to talk about the shoot and a little bit about how you chose the pictures that ended up in the layout.
Yes, it was a very, very huge honor for me to be able to do that. And I like how you noticed, like, yes, they were very simple. There was no hair, no makeup, no hair, just the three of us, Vanessa and Brianna, and just putting our heads together. Um, so we just met in a studio, and I wanted to use all of my thrifted items because, yes, we're talking about like the beauty of a person, but also clothing and fashion trends and fast fashion, because that's where it ties into our environment, how
Right.
we're producing these things, and where are they going to end up once you're done having it in your closet. That was really important. So that was really the inspiration. Is I wanted to. My wardrobe is like 70% thrifted. And so, and honestly, when I go to photo shoots, that makes it hard for me because I don't really wear the trends. I don't have the latest and greatest things. I have the most random hodgepodge of everyone else's closet. So it's kind of
Right.
hard for me. I have to usually go out and shop to do a professional photo shoot, and I'll return the items that I don't wear. Um, but it was really cool for me to actually be able to use my own wardrobe. And so that's what you saw in the background. We just really had fun with it. Vanessa and Brianna are very, very talented. And most of those ideas were theirs. They arranged the set. I was just making TikToks in the back. And then they told me when it was ready. And they were really good at working together and respecting each other's ideas and building on each other's ideas. Um, and so it turned out really cool. And we tried to keep it very clean and neat on purpose.
Yeah, it ended up being very effective, I think. Like, since, I noticed that that was the look that you were going for, even though they're still like very well edited and interesting. They also just give off this very simplistic vibe. And
Yes.
before we end this episode, I just wanted to say that I wrote a piece for Issue 8 as well called Evolution of Secondhand that I wrote with Tori and Anna, that both own vintage shops in the Indianapolis area. And we
Oh,
talk a
yeah.
lot about fast fashion and secondhand and how important it is to do that, especially, not only for the environment, but for our own sense of style. And
Mhm.
like, it is just crazy to me how many things that you touch on in this piece that are also touched on throughout,
I don't know
the
how I
rest of
did
the
it.
issue. Like, you just encompassed all of it somehow.
I don't know how I did it. It was a process. But we need to connect after the show about that because I love to talk about that and find people that are passionate about
Yeah,
fast fashion and secondhand,
you would love
sustainable
both
fashion
of
too.
them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This is going to wrap it up for our latest episode of Let's Talk More on Monday. Thank you so much, Angelique, for joining me and talking a little bit about your piece. And
Yeah,
please
of
join us
course.
over on Patreon to dig a little bit deeper with Angelique. We're going to talk about some things that you might want to know. So see us over on Patreon, and we will see you next time. Let's talk more on Monday.